record. Hey everybody, we are so excited to finally be recording another podcast episode. It is 9:05 p.m., my friends, and we are just now getting a new episode up. And so first, I want to say sorry about that. We have definitely got to get better about recording together and doing these podcasts every single week. Something exciting I can tell you guys that is potentially coming. I just talked to Steve about this before we went live, or before we recorded this. I asked him if he would go live with us, maybe in the Facebook group, and we could go live while we are recording our podcast. That way you could watch the podcast live or interact with us during it. I think that would be just so much fun. Y'all let me know what you think. But here we are tonight, and we are going to let Steve tell us what we are talking about first. I think he wants to talk about multiple things because we haven't had a podcast in a minute. So let's see what he's got to say. Steve?
I can't think of what I want to do. I know we had promised to do one on revival, and now that the Kentucky revival's kind of fizzled out, I don't know that would bring much interest.
I still think it would. What was your take on the revival when it was going on?
I think
because it's
awesome.
Actually been breaking out. I've been seeing posts about them breaking out in other areas. Texas was one of them. So, I mean, how did you feel about the revival?
I think it was awesome. Anytime there's a movement of God and people feeling it, it's something to rejoice about. I think a lot of people are confused about what revival really is. I seen one thing where somebody thought it was a sign of the end times.
Everybody was talking about going, and I seen that all over TikTok. Yeah. They were talking about going, and I'm going to go read Revelations because the end times is here. Because that's where,
it's nothing to do with that. Revival is a renewing of your spirit, renewing of your faith in God, and it all starts within your own heart. You have to prepare yourself for a revival. A church has to prepare the whole body of the church for it. And I think it's fine, and it's time for the church, all the churches combined to prepare themselves and to allow God to have a revival in your heart and just witness the movement of God. Be an awesome thing. And I think we are experiencing some of that, different things going on, but it's been a long time coming. I think a lot of people, a lot of churches will set a date to have revival every year and kind of plan it out, and I ain't saying that ain't nothing in it real. Sometimes there's a big movement, but they don't do it without God, and it's not something that you can just plan out. It's got to be a movement of God for it to happen. But it's a great thing.
I think my biggest thing with it is, there were people posting about how there wasn't a lot of preaching or stuff, but then you would see little segments of people coming up and saying things and all of that, and I think they were associating revival with maybe what you're talking about, how the churches made it look, right? Yeah. The way I remember a Baptist revival is different preachers come from different churches, and your preacher goes to different churches, and then so it is almost like revival. But I kind of had this thought while you were speaking, it's a revival almost for the preacher. It's kind of like I do a lot of teaching and I do a lot of Bible, studying and all that. So when I go on vacation, that's kind of like a revival for me because I'm spending that alone time with God now instead of but not saying that it's not for the people as well, but But maybe that's
a vacation like we just did.
Right, was very yes, it was so good. But which we'll talk about. But so it's what's your definition of a revival? Does it look like a whole bunch of preaching, or does it look like what was going on at Ashbury when there's lots of music and everybody is praising and worshiping? And I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I can cut the music on in my office, and I have my own revival up in here. Steve walked in on a couple, but I think it's what you think. What your image of revival is. And it's like Steve said, it's really not preaching. It's really not anything but the renewing of your spirit, the renewing of your soul, right?
That can happen on a personal level, a church level, a community level, and hopefully we'll see it on a national level.
But what about, too, I think humans, we're naturally evil, right? That's what we are. We have to learn how to be different than that. I think we have a way of destroying things that are good. So, something was going around. I got tagged in it on TikTok about how this girl had a seizure at the revival, and people were praying over her, which was that part's a great thing, but then they were saying oh, she's healed of demons and stuff, and I'm like, well, now hold up a second. No, calm down. All right. I'm if you want to be Pentecostal, okay, but calm down. Wait a minute. Because just because she had a seizure, it was a medical condition. And just because she has a seizure again doesn't mean that she's not healed with the Spirit. It's your definition of being healed. And it's, I don't know. Her sickness ain't a demon, so to say. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's how some people are going to portray it as, which I guess maybe that's the same people who say, if you're battling with your mind, if you're battling emotional or spirit, or in your mind, then you're dealing with a demon. And yes, maybe so, but
not saying you couldn't be healed.
Yes, not at all, because you can be healed from a medical condition all the time. But it's the people saying that's a demon in her when she's just sick. Yeah. She's just got a medical condition. I don't.
Yeah, people are silly.
They are, but those are the things. I feel like humans, we bring our silliness, as Steve likes to call it, into the equation, and now we're taking things out of context, right? So I think we just got to be careful of those things. But I do think it was really great, and. You know what? If just one person got saved, which I know they did during this whole thing, then every bit of it was worth it. You know? But here's my question. This is going to lead into a good discussion right here, okay? You've got revival, so what are you going to do with it?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You've got the renewing of your spirit. You've experienced, you're on fire. First off, your fire ain't going to last. It's not. It's going to wear off.
Yep. Unless you keep fueling.
Right. So, what do you do after you...
allowing God to fuel.
Yep. So, what are you going to do after you've had revival? What's next?
Well, I know a lot of people in our group or in our community here are doing what they need to do. They're feeding their minds with studying, journaling, learning, digging deeper. That's one of the main things, and that's where a lot of people fail after a revival. They don't do nothing to get closer to God. The only way you can get closer to God is to get in His Word.
Yeah. Ooh, kind of like what we were talking about on Coffee Talk last night. You got to break up the ground and seek His Word. You got to break up with your sin, and then you got to seek His Word, right? So you've had revival, you've been filled up with the Holy Spirit, but if you don't continue to fill yourself up with His Holy Spirit, with His Word, then it's going to fizzle out.
Well, if you think about it, there's no way for you to grow unless you're in His Word.
Unless you're in His Word learning, yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of be that little subject you and I talked about earlier, about being afraid of change or new. That can come in there. a lot of people are so scared of anything different. You know, you grew up both of us grew up in Baptist churches, or independent Baptist churches.
Yeah.
You know, and they have a certain way of doing things. You know, I went to some churches that was almost cult-like. You know, with some of their things. But
Steve went to a church one time, y'all, and he literally experienced preachers like slapping me.
Oh Lord, that was a full gospel church, and if you ain't never been to a full gospel church, I
highly don't recommend.
Well, unless you grew up in it, you probably won't be comfortable. But I didn't grow up in it. I went with some friends of mine that were a gospel group, and Lord have mercy, they was hitting old ladies in the forehead, and there was old ladies laying in the floor flopping. The preacher said 2 or 3 of them had the devil in them. I mean, it was bad.
It was an experience for you, huh?
Yeah, I couldn't get down that mountain quick enough that night.
That's funny.
Not saying that anything they done wasn't real, but to them, but to me, it was frightening.
Listen, no. We have to not be scared to speak on things that ain't right. And in no place in that Bible do I read about let me smack the devil out of you. That is not how that goes. That's not how
as individuals, I'm not saying that they were not real in their moment of what, I mean, them old ladies stood there and let the man smack them, so, I mean...
emotional damage.
It was emotional damage for me.
Oh my gosh.
If they had brought out snakes, I would have made a new trail down that mountain.
You don't like snakes? Well, who's going to kill the snakes that we have?
Oh, I'll kill a snake, but...
What would they possibly do with snakes?
Have you not seen them snake services? They get them out of the box.
Snake services?
Yeah, Lord have mercy. I mean, you got to watch some YouTube.
Oh, I don't want to watch nothing that's doing the snake.
Yeah.
Snake represents the devil. Devil says that's a hard pass to my house.
It's a faith thing to them.
Faith? With a snake?
Yeah, they...
No.
Yeah.
We got off topic. Okay. Yeah. What do you do? Well, the question was, you got revival, what are you going to do with it? So, you're going to keep going with it. I really do live by the saying, you can't just get filled up one time out of the week and then expect that to carry you all week. Like, there's a reason that church service is Sunday, Wednesday, Sunday and Wednesday. That's it. Okay. That's 2 times on Sunday, right? Yeah. So they get filled up in the middle of the week too, right? Some churches do Saturday, just depends. But, and even if you don't go to church, because y'all know I still don't have a church home, right? So I'm not going to church every Sunday or Wednesday, but I physically renew myself with the Lord every single morning. All right? And every afternoon, a lot of the times, anytime I'm digging into His Word, anytime it is speaking to me, anytime that I'm learning from it, anytime that I'm trying to be better because of it, is me renewing that spirit. Now listen though, I feel like every single day you should be renewing your spirit, reading your Word, getting into your Word, right? Building that relationship with the Lord. But there's a difference in revival a little bit, because it's something to renew it and then go about your day. But we're also called to get silent with the Lord. And I think if you feel like you are missing something in your life, right, and you need your own personal revival because you wasn't able to go to Ashbury, right, then you need to take a vacation or something by yourself. And I firmly stand by this. I want to do this so bad. And I'm going to plan it. Steve's birthday's coming up, my friend. So I'm thinking about planning a little weekend something for me and him to just get silent with the Lord, right? Not saying we won't go and go out and eat and stuff, but if you've never just experienced, to me, going somewhere and getting in silence and reading my Word, and there's no interruptions and there's no time limits and there's none of that. Why are you looking at me like that, honey?
I know where I want to go.
Is the best thing. Where are you wanting to go? Just because it's your birthday don't mean it's about you. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Y'all see how she treats me?
I'm kidding.
That's why I'm...
Where you want to go?
Pretty place.
The pretty place. Oh, that'd be a good day trip. Yes.
And stop halfway through and see myself.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, that'd be good. That's a good idea. We should totally. Well, y'all already know our plans for Steve's birthday, but just going somewhere and getting along with the Lord. You say, Kelsey, I can't afford a vacation. Well, can you just a hotel room, your house? Can your parents or your grandparents or your friends? Can somebody take your children? Like, it's just simply about getting that time with just you and God and really being silent. Like, you don't gotta have the music on. Just because your kids are there, don't mean you gotta clean the house really good. Or that you gotta do all the laundry or do the dishes. You just got to get silent with the Lord, right? And really be filled up in studying His Word and learning like all the amazing things His Word can give.
I think an important thing for new Christians after revival is, well, first getting into the Word, but second, learning to apply the Word. Kelsey took off on me. I ain't sure where she's going, but
I about choked on my mountain
oh, Lord have mercy.
Sorry.
And learning to apply the Word, and that's one of the most growing things you can do is once you start applying. You know, I would like to think I knew how to apply God's Word to my life at a young age, but I've learned so much in the last few years with Kelsey. What are you doing?
Nothing. Mind your business. I'm recording. Just chill. Keep talking. You've learned so much in the past couple of years. Quit. Be a professional.
I told you, I'm radio, man. I can handle this mic. I can't handle it.
You can handle it. I'm preparing you for the video that we're going to learn to have.
You prepare that half of me.
Okay.
Where was I at?
It messed you up that bad.
Yeah.
Record. Sir, you got to get on camera shot. We got to get on camera together.
I'm not a video
You're
man.
going to be great. You're going to do great. I'm excited. You're going to do great.
I might do better if I had a tractor.
No, you got a truck. You better be quiet. You ain't going to no more podcasts. Because you ain't going to be around. I'm going to beat you up. Oh, my goodness.
Which leads to another part of what we was wanting to talk to.
What?
Marriage.
Yeah. What?
You ain't got to always like them.
You just got to love me.
Yeah.
Right. You're so funny.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you.
Listen, some people think that we have, I don't know where you were talking about, but going on to another subject. Some people think that we have just this perfect marriage. And while I would agree that we do have a great marriage, I think people need to understand that it wasn't always this way for either of us. Maybe in our marriage, yes, now. But I think it has to do with how we view each other and where we already came from. Because, we are each other's third marriage, right?
Yeah.
So I think we already kind of knew where we went wrong. And I know we have said in one podcast that, we both equally came into this relationship open about, with God in the middle of it, right?
Yeah.
But, I don't want to be that couple that makes you think that, our marriage is just roses and butterflies all the time, because no marriage is like that.
She gets on my nerves so much sometimes.
That's rude.
But I love her.
That's rude.
You saying I don't get on your nerves? You tell them on camera to get on your nerves. It's my time to shine.
Oh, it's your time to shine?
Yeah.
About all the... What?
But I love her. I wouldn't trade her for nothing in the world. But I think that has a lot to do with how good our marriage is forgiving heart. I mean, even
Yeah.
even when the other person does something that discourages you or makes you mad and won't buy you a tractor or whatever, but you forgive them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know they can see.
See, they don't need a video. They can picture the look you're giving me.
This ain't a podcast. This is just to make y'all laugh. Like, oh my gosh. Our love for each other is what you was getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, finish.
I was fit.
Oh. We're gonna have to scratch this episode.
Right.
Because all I can do is laugh. I can't. You were done.
How much coffee have you drunk tonight?
I've drank 2 Mountain Dews. 2 Mountain Dews.
2 green waters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so sorry. But, yes, it is, I mean, I agree with you about the love we have for each other. We've talked about that before. So one of the things that I really want to touch on is kind of what we were talking about the other day. Is there are, so we were talking the other day, how we say, a lot of people are unequally yoked. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. In their spirituality. So, there are times, I'll be honest with you. You got to understand. I am a Bible teacher, okay? I record we record this podcast together, but otherwise, I study all the time. I'm in my word early in the morning. I'm in my word at night. I'm teaching 4 days a week on Coffee Talk, and then I teach 2 nights a week on a membership and do downloads for people about the Bible. I'm in the Bible all the time. So, it's easy for me to feel like sometimes that me and Steve are even unequally yet. Because I have this relationship with the Lord where it's just like the ability to make all these connections. That's what we were talking about. Applying the Bible to your life, right?
Yeah.
I have the ability to do that. Not saying that Steve don't. We'll let him talk in a minute. But I take the applying part very seriously, which is how I've gotten to where I am. And I've let personal convictions of myself, lead me to let things go that the Lord don't want me to have anymore, right? So, I mean, sometimes it is easy to feel that way, even though my husband is very godly. But it's almost like this. How do we say it? We said men have lost their role in marriage.
Yeah. Society has taken men from being the spiritual leaders.
Right.
And pretty much put it on the woman's shoulders. And, a lot of women have resentment towards about that because the man is supposed to be the spiritual leader in the home. And I think, most of you won't admit it, but you've kind of got a little aggravation towards your husband because you're applying, you're journaling, you're learning daily. And if he goes to church, he goes maybe Sunday or Wednesday or both, but other than that, you don't hear nothing about God or nothing out of him, or he don't, pray, lead the prayer with the children at night or at mealtime. And it's just, I've seen it in society. I ain't gonna say how old I am, but I'm getting older. I've seen some things, but I've seen it since in my raising, from family dinners and stuff. Grandpa, leading prayer, blessing over the meal. My dad, he claimed to be an atheist for years up until he got older, but he never done nothing like that. I've seen it in friends' parents. It just kind of faded away there, and now it's to a point to where the women are having to be the spiritual leaders But
I got a question.
a lot of women are leading their husbands back.
Very true, very true. But here's my question. Do you think that y'all have lost your spiritual leadership because, one, you've been taught that you're supposed to be the head, okay, of the household, and y'all just aren't clear on what that means? Or is it because you're so focused on providing that you're really not leaving any room for God? Or is it both?
I believe it's both.
Yeah.
You know, there's been a lot of weight put on my generation.
Well, do y'all feel, and this is just something I'm asking because me and you have experienced this. Men in general feel weak if they do, but see, not every man's going to be like you and get to come home, so say. So, like, do they feel weak if they're the spiritual leader of, does that make them feel weak because they're close to God and nobody, or like, are they scared to stand alone in that aspect? I mean, what? It's
a lot of weight put on men's shoulders of being the provider and stuff over the years, to where I think that they got so focused on making money, making a living, providing nice things for the family that kind of got put on the back burner for them until it, families got out of church. They just didn't do like they used to do.
Right. But I mean, like, so what's it take for a man to have that shift? You've kind of had that shift. I mean, I don't really consider me the spiritual leader of our house. I do consider us, like, very even though I'm in my Bible more. I still know that, like, if I'm getting ready to have any sort of, like, downward spiral, I know that you can talk me out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and me and him are very the same on our beliefs and the way that we live and what we agree with and what we don't and how we operate. So, what's it take, though? Because when you came home, that was a very big thing for you. Coming home, it was hard for you because you thought that being the head of the household was.
I've said it over and over. A man's spirit has to be broken for him to grow. And I know that sounds bad,
but I had to be broken to grow.
Yeah.
It was very broken. That's what made me who I am today. You have to be broken to know which way to go. I feel that.
Coming home,
Well, and there's no denying that when you did, our life changed completely.
It did, I was just telling my daughter last night, when I left my job, I was mentally and emotionally in a bad place.
And for reference, my friends, he really was. Like, me and him had the conversation. He was like walking around with this black cloud over his head. And anytime he got around you, it was like his black cloud was raining on you. And I was like, you need to get rid of that black cloud or I'm going to get rid of you.
And then when I came home, for a while, I felt worthlessness. Even though God was providing and building all this, I felt a worthlessness for not providing because I'd always been taught to provide.
But it could also have been the enemy, because you've been using the things you've been taught that wasn't scripturally correct, so to say, against you. Because I remember me and him, he was telling me all this when we were outside on the porch one day. And I told him, I said, well, I'm not denying that any of your wives didn't love you or not. I said, but it's different here. And it's different this time. And, I reassured him of that. I was like, I want to take care of what we need to take care of. But the biggest thing I reassured him of is that it wasn't just me. Because without him, I couldn't do what I do. So his part is equally as important as, we make the same.
Do you realize it's been 1 year this week?
Since what? Since you left?
Since I came
Are
home.
you serious? You want to go back to your 9 to 5?
There's things about it I miss, but I just don't know that I can do it.
He's spoiled rotten.
I'm not spoiled rotten.
You are so. But what does it take?
I work a lot harder here than
you
I
do. I bet you got appreciation for those stay-at-home moms, by George.
Yeah,
don't you?
I do.
I bet so.
I used to think stay-at-home moms had it made. Laid back and watched soap operas all day. That don't happen.
We should do a podcast so that these ladies can send it to their husbands.
But the fact that we run a business here,
yeah,
and a household, I sometimes I think you don't realize what all I do, but I take care of household things. I do what I can with the business, which ain't a lot, but take out the trash. I cook them food almost every day.
Tasty.
Yeah, I'm a pretty good chef if anybody's looking.
If anybody's looking for an in-home chef. Man, I love it.
I can cook some pretty good chicken tenders.
He deep fries them and they're delicious. But he does do equally as much as I do. But the question still remains, what's it take for a man to... Not everybody's going to get to leave their job. Not everybody's dreams are what we live today, right? Like, some people love what they do already. So, what does it take for...
Is life what I wish it was? No. I would love to have 50 acres of land.
Oh, my gosh.
20 head of cattle and...
Will you calm down?
A tractor.
If you better calm down. What does it take for a man to have that switch?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really realize when it happened, but, I went through those breaking things before it happened. The feeling worthlessness, being overwhelmed by how much there was still to do here, all that, it's kind of like things that kind of break you to make you realize that, your role.
How do you, as a man, okay, so this is a really good question. So, you don't have an average man's job no more. My man is still a manly man, and y'all can't have him. But he doesn't have an ideal job for a husband, okay? How do you... So, some would say that what you do is silly. Well, I mean, let's just be honest. We know they would, right?
Yeah.
What would you say if somebody told you that you were?
I don't know. I mean, if I get tired of doing the stuff in here, I got 3/4 of an acre of woods back there. I go cut me down a tree. Makes me feel like a man. I come back. I wash the dishes.
It's true story. But I guess
she calls it ADHD.
It is. He leaves the dishwasher open, goes and cuts down a tree, comes back, realizes he got laundry to do. It's most definitely ADHD. But I don't guess that's really my question. I don't guess I asked it right. It's more of along. It's more of along the lines of like, your job is equally as important as mine, even though you do. We share household tasks. Now, don't be thinking that Steve does every bit of the household tasks.
Steve does it all.
Steve does not do it all.
Well, yeah.
Maybe to Steve's standards. When Steve gets done cleaning,
I don't do the deep cleaning.
When Steve gets done cleaning, you look like you walked into a Motel 6. When I get done cleaning, it's a Hampton Inn by George. I'm telling you. We not the same.
Holiday Inn Express?
Motel 6. I'm so sorry. I mean, sorry. Anyway.
We leave the light on for you.
Huh?
I said, at least we leave the light on for you.
You do a great job. I love it. But it helps a lot. But what I'm saying is, we equally share these responsibilities. You don't think that the laundry is just my job. You don't think that the dishes are just my job. You don't think that, doing certain things is just my job. You're very willing to help with those. And I need y'all to understand, especially the husbands that are listening, Steve done all of these things. You cannot use the excuse, well, he gets to stay home. Because no, Steve done all of these tasks even while he worked a 9 to 5 job. He came home every day and helped me with things.
9 to 5?
8 to 5. Whatever it was.
I worked
You did. And there at the end, it was way too much.
Yeah.
But that ain't what we're talking about. We're talking about men. Whoops. We're talking about men who work 9 to 5 jobs, right? Or 8 to 5, whatever. Okay? He still helped me do these tasks before he ever got to experience the blessing that we have today. So, why? Like, why? I think that's part of... Okay. The Bible instructs us that the man is the spiritual leader of the home. I think we've got the definition of that wrong. Alright? Because spiritual leader does not mean that you have an excuse not to do the dishes.
No, it don't.
It don't mean that you're supposed to not help your wife with laundry, cleaning. Even if your cleaning don't look like her cleaning. Like, even if everything looks different. Y'all are in a partnership. Nobody is walking one in front of the other. Y'all are supposed to be walking side by side. Being a spiritual leader of the household, to me, you can tell me if you think different, is when I'm almost ready to quit, my husband swoops in and tells me all the reasons that I'm not going to. And that's what I think being the spiritual leader is. It's leading, it's helping me or us together, so say, lead this family, but he's supposed to make those extra efforts to lead. And if
it's like sometimes, especially when you first got started, if you questioned something in the Bible, and I had knowledge of it,
which he does,
you always came to me.
Yeah.
To get a better understanding. Or like Kenneth Ham,
Yeah.
I've followed Kenneth Ham since back in the 90s. But way before the Noah's Ark or Creation Museum was ever even a thing. They were in the planning stages, but they weren't built yet. But, I actually took courses and stuff that he used to do years ago, and I learned a whole lot about creation and the science behind it and how it proved the Bible right, even though these evolutionists was trying to push other ideals in everybody's head, through our school systems and stuff.
Yeah.
Kenneth Ham broke a lot of ground there as far as getting the truth out on things, but yeah, that type of stuff. I've always been the one that kind of gave her ideals, and God's given me ideals for the business that I've took to her, and they've turned out to be.
Yeah, the Bible journaling kit was Steve's idea, and it is one of the things that exploded our business. Yep. But there's also been some things that's been really good for our business that Steve didn't necessarily believe in. Yeah. Or he believes in everything. That ain't the right word. He didn't think it would be anything that it is today, but it is.
Yeah, I didn't have the faith that it would work out because, I'm just like anybody else. You grow up and go through life as a young adult, and life is hard, and things just never seem to work out for you. You get to a mentality where you think, that ain't going to work. No matter how great it is, it ain't going to work. And that's kind of the way I was. But
I always
changed that because I've watched things.
But wait, I just had this revolution. So, not saying your life ain't always been great, okay? Because you've had lots of great things happen. But I always talk about my aspect, and this is like a 10-year dream for me that's just kind of like come to life now, right? But in 4, right, it took about 4 years, and then a 10-year dream was like boom here, and now it's like continuing to get bigger and bigger, and I'm just like, whoa, Deli, like I didn't even dream of this. It's coming true anyway, But
by the way, there's a lot of great things coming.
Yeah, there is. Yes, there is. But what about you though? Like, you're living in, so you've never owned a house until me and you bought one together. So, so what about though?
I had a career in auto body, which used to be a great career choice, but I started in 1987 as in a body shop, and brought home. He worked 4 or 5, sometimes 600 a week, and when I left body work, which left a year prior to leaving my job, because it shut down the body shop, and I switched to another job, but I was making about the same.
Yeah.
It never increased, and everything else did, as far as like bills,
living
expenses and stuff. So it turned out to be not so great career choice. I wished I'd have stayed in school and went with my first plan.
Yeah, but it's just wild to think about, because it's like, yes, I'm living a 10-year dream, but like, how long did you dream of buying a house until we finally got to do it? And how, so a lot of you know that we got Steve a new truck. That was his Valentine's Day and Christmas and birthday and next Valentine's Day. It's a bunch of gifts in one, all wrapped up in one. I'm going to get a new bow to put on it every time. But he got this new truck, right? Well, his daughter ended up coming up there while he was getting the truck, and she was like, and she had made some comment that just really stuck about, she said, well, I ain't never seen my daddy buy something that's nice or have something that's nice. Or so, you remember that? Mm-hmm. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I bought one new car before in my life, and it was for my wife at the time. And other than that,
but you've never
always had hand-me-downs or just something old, cheap.
Yeah.
But it was always stuff I could work on, which this one I could work on.
You can work on it a little bit, yeah. Just less work.
Yeah.
But it's like, how long did you wait? And I feel like there came a time where Steve honestly thought that we were never going to be here. I remember vividly sitting on the porch and you saying, we ain't never going to buy a house. We've never owned a house. Nothing's ours. He was having a day. And I was like, it will, so just chill. Be patient. Have faith. And today, you must feel real silly to have that conversation on the porch at that moment.
I'd forgotten about it until you just threw my face.
I ain't throwing it up.
Kind of how you do. You
I am not throwing it up in your face. It's things that I remember.
Yeah. You always remember the things that you shouldn't.
That ain't things that I shouldn't. That is provision, sir. That is God coming through. Yeah. That is you getting to experience things in your life that you never thought you would get to.
It's very humbling when good things start to happen for you.
Because you just said that you raised, I'm going to say raised up. Is that even a word? That you were raised. And then as life kept going, you kept wondering, well, is anything good going to happen? Is anything good going to happen? Is anything good going to happen? But now good things are happening. And it's just something.
It is. I thank God every day for...
By the way, though, good things are not always easy. Please know that.
We don't live in a mansion by any means. It's an older home, but it's our home.
Yeah. But I love our own.
We made it our own and continuing to make it our own.
But I think that that's also another key point that does make us successful. I saw this couple one time, and they it's actually a pretty famous author that I follow, and she they had this big old house that they owned, right? And they were wanting to fix it up. When they bought it, they wanted to play fixer-upper, right? Well, they got in there and they realized, well, this is a lot of work, They sold the big mansion and had something brand new built. And that's what they live in because they didn't want that much work anymore. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like I chose this house, or we chose this house, or me. Steve has his own reasons for choosing this house. It was definitely a decision we made together, but his own reasons, right? My reason, we come from a really decent sized house. Like,
Yeah.
thing was huge. It was so overwhelming. It was so just defeating for me day in and day out, because there was just this long to-do list that absolutely never got done. And while this house is still beautiful and the perfect size for our family, this is a house that is manageable. So I don't think you should buy the biggest house on the block, right? You need to buy something that's manageable. Something that you think you're going to be able to manage, but you're also going to be able to enjoy your life there. Because if you have a house that's way too big and you cannot manage it, it's just going to turn into a chore and you're going to resent what you bought. You know?
Yep.
And that's kind of how I see it.
My reasons for choosing this house was that it had room for the business, still had a garage for me, and that view of that mountain right there behind me.
Yeah.
Because that's where we said our vows.
That's where we got married at, on top of the mountain. Yeah, if y'all ever come to Pilot Mountain and visit Pilot Knob, me and Steve totally went on top of that mountain and said our I do's. And then, well, that was that. That's exactly how that worked out. Okay, but, alright, we've been on here about 45 minutes, so it's probably about time to wrap this up. First off, though, before we do, I do want to encourage you guys. Comment on the podcast and the videos. Ask us questions. What do you want us to talk about? What do you think would make some good podcast episodes? We're definitely looking to you guys for the content that you want to hear from me and Steve. But besides that, I want to end with this, because I'm going to ask the same question I asked, because I don't feel like you gave a good enough answer. What is it going to take for a man to humble himself enough to want to be the spiritual leader of the household? But I do want to encourage you ladies. Maybe we need to have a whole podcast. You know what? Let's just save that for next time. We need to do a whole podcast on what to do if you're spiritually unequally yoked with your significant other. And that'll make a really great podcast for next week. But still, I'm going to let you answer the question. What will it take?
It takes growth. I mean, I hate to make it such a simple answer, but it's true. It takes a man's growth to grow past what he's
known.
Yeah.
Or change.
Yeah.
And change is really hard.
Growth brings change.
Yes. And those go hand in hand. And men have a really hard time with the change.
We do, yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
Why?
I don't know. You can change brands of soap in the bathtub and we get confused.
Oh, been out of shape.
Yeah. It's just a man thing.
We
like what we like. We know we like it.
Well, you need to have some deep thought about that, because I want a better answer. It's not good enough. It's not a good enough answer to say you just don't like it, because it's necessary. Everything in the Bible is about growth and change and being willing.
And the Lord Jesus Christ himself was all about change. He changed up everything when he came, but I don't know.
So why such a hard time?
I don't know.
So you need to be thinking about that. Because y'all aren't technically wired that way.
No.
I mean, people in the Bible, the men in the Bible were literally, go to a mountain. Okay, Lord, on the way. You know, like, what? And y'all were over here worried about changing soap.
Yeah. I don't know.
We can't have that. Y'all got to be willing to go to the mountain when the Lord calls. You got to be willing to get up and walk when the Lord says get up and walk, or march around the house or the walls for 7 days to watch them fall. That takes change.
If the Lord ever calls me up on the mountain, I hope he don't mind if I drive.
You don't want to walk. He gave Elijah all the strength. He gave Elijah all the strength to go up that mountain and beat the person that went ahead of him.
Really?
Yeah. So if he calls you and wants you to have enough strength,
but he provided me a truck and a road.
So you want? I guess you're right. He's so funny.
4-wheel drive too.
Oh my Lord. All right, you guys. We love y'all so big. It's been a good night. Maybe you've laughed a little bit. Maybe that's all that you did tonight because it was a little scattered. But listen, if all you did was laugh, I think that's totally a win because everybody needs a little bit of humor in their life. But again, give us some recommendations, my friends. What do y'all want to know? Ask us questions, and we will see you guys next week. We promise, okay? With a new episode. We love you guys. Bye, guys.